We're EarthForce. We are a national nonprofit and the home of environmental action civics. In field chats, you'll hear research-based, actionable tips and inspiring stories of youth-adult partnerships that empower young people to become environmental decision makers. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started.
All right. Hey, Trish.
Hey, how are ya?
I'm doing good. I'm so happy to be here with you today. It's been a minute since I've seen you, so thanks for making time. I know you've had some life changes and you're currently educating, right? Working with kids?
Yeah, I'm currently a high school teacher at Greenspire High School, an environmental charter school in Traverse City, Michigan.
That's great. Well, congratulations on the new role.
Thank
And maybe you can, before we kind of dive in and stuff, I'll introduce you a couple other things about you. But can you tell folks about kind of like your educational journey and kind of more about your path?
Yeah, I just always wanted to be outside, and my dad had a desk job, and so everything I just kept going, what will get me outside, what will get me outside? And so that's sort of been like the subtext of my career. I found geology because I like rocks, and that I really like the geosphere and our relationship and the environmental or systems questions. So earth system science falls like right in my happy place of like things I care about, things I'm passionate about, and things I think we all need to know and teach to the future generation as like a voting populace. So so I've done mostly outdoor ed. I worked at a museum, so that was indoors, but I ended up playing with kids and 4-H groups and doing science investigations with them in indoor and outdoor spaces. I was the director of an environmental center in Alabama, and we, as I helped teach graduated college students how to teach kids in the woods and feel safe and grow and expand their comfort zones there. But also I got to teach the kiddos and just go on a 1.5-mile hike for 3 hours and explore. And, that's the best. And more recently I was doing those same things on a sailboat, a tall ship schooner in the Great Lakes, and exploring ports in the Great Lakes and exploring what's under the surface of the water using authentic science tools, like the real tools that scientists use to dive in and explore. So that's what I've been doing, and now I've got 2 kiddos, so the formal classroom schedule fits my life a little better than weeks at sea, as it were.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so great. And I love that you touched on that, like authenticity in scientific investigation, because that's what we will dig into today. So thanks for that very cool background and introduction. So I just wanted to say that I've worked with Trish now for, I guess, probably 5 years or so. And as a kind of a practitioner of environmental education, and she's worked with organizations that we've worked with, and now Trish is a guide for our EAC Alliance Community of Practice. And so probably see Trish in there responding and adding comments. And so we're excited we wanted to bring your voice to the community of practice. And so thanks for being here, and thanks for really all of the engagement, all the work you've done. I think you get it. You understand environmental action civics and you apply it, and you're like doing the work. And honestly, that was the reason we started the community practice. Was people kept saying like, we want to talk to other people that are like in the field doing this, and like, what's their experience, what's their story, how are they doing this thing, how are they doing that thing. And it's building slowly. We're moving. We've got like over 200 members now, so that's great, and just working on like engagement pieces. But yeah, I really want it to be a space where we hear other voices, and so I'm excited for folks to hear from you today. And so when we were kind of discussing like, oh yeah, let's chat and let's do a live, and then what do you want to talk about, and you had mentioned like, oh, maybe this like power of authenticity and scientific investigation, and kind of how that ties in to environmental action civics and such. And so I don't know, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Before I knew EarthForce existed, I was doing a lot of educator PD through these roles at the museum, and I really fell into that question of like, let's make it authentic, and then students will care, and you can teach math around that, or you could teach science around it, or writing.
Yes.
And so I led, like a overnight workshop at the environmental center I worked at, where teachers got to go to camp, basically. And the result was they got a small pot of money and support from us to do an authentic investigation with their class. And I had a first grade teacher who said, I want to do this, but I have no idea. And I was like, what do your kids love? And they said the playground. So I said, well, go ask them, go out and look at it, and bring clipboards and make them little scientists, and ask them what's wrong with it. Ask them what's wrong with it, and ask them what's right with it. And all of a sudden, they talked about how the slide was always wet, and how like one of the teeter-totters worked and one didn't. And once they started doing that, they like, where's the biggest bang for our buck? What could we do to solve this? And all of a sudden they, figured out, well, mulch over here is solving this problem in this other space at school. Can we call a dad who, has access? And so like that built this community thing where all of a sudden this playground was, reparations were made to the playground that these first graders then like used the rest of their like elementary school career. And that was, I was like, that was powerful.
What a great example. And it's funny because we just did a podcast today that was talking about like some frequently asked questions, and one of them was like, what ages can you do this? And we were talking about a lot of our material is kind of for the middle school ages, but like this is work to do with all young people. And I love that you gave a first grade example, because it's like, like what a great place to start, right? And they went out and they used like their lived experience of this place, and they did some wondering and some questioning and some observations, and then decided something that they wanted to be different, and they took action on it, right? So I love that example, and I love that it was first grade. So dig in more a little bit with this like this investigation piece, that kind of initial piece, and how you've maybe practiced that.
I think I probably teach everything through community inventories, right? Like through the showcase of either your like lived experience or the way you interact with the world, right? I'm at an environmental charter school, so we get to go outside with whatever class, we're working with. So we were outside in personal finance earlier this week, because like going out and taking a census of the cars in the lot helps you to see how, like, what is the average price? What is that going to buy? Like, let's go out and figure out the ages, because we've got some car geeks in one of the classes. Let's go out and let's figure out like the average value of the cars on the lot. And it starts to really bring connections, because that's not a worksheet, right? Like it got there from a worksheet, right? I'm using a national curriculum that is, free and grant funded. But the questions that we ask, or the natural curiosities that the students are describing, lead us to tangents that are real and meaningful to them, and then they're more willing to ask the next question, right? So then when somebody doesn't know what time and a half is, as an example, right, like they are comfortable to say, hey, I didn't know this thing, right? Because their voice is valued, they feel heard, and those things have more meaning. So I think anytime we can connect people with the tools that are authentically used by the people who use them, it, in an applied setting, it helps kids, it helps make those connections to like, I need to know this critical thinking skill in class because I could use it as an adjuster for an insurance company, or I could use it to, decide, if I want to get a car loan or whatever, right? Those things are the equivalent of like in a formal classroom setting too, like identifying what the goal of the day is, right? Before you start it, because you have an idea of why you're teaching fractions before you teach the next thing, but your students don't know, and their brain is still on English Lit or the exam they took or lunch, and helping set guideposts helps them to like make those connections. So when we set guideposts in reality, right, that's the way to help them bridge what's in the classroom to what's real.
That's so beautiful. And I feel like there's, I mean, when we try to pretend that like we're doing a disservice if we don't connect real life to the classroom, right? Because like we have to live. I love that you teach like a personal finance class too. I'm like, God, I wish I had that when I was younger as well. But just like real life stuff. And the more that we can, a lot of work around environmental action civics is like building these, like we say, like citizenship skills, or like how to be in community with people and make decisions and identify, like problem solve and take action and ask for change, and like these kind of things that are like really powerful tools, I think, and skills to build. So think, like, I love that you said like when those posts are grounded in reality, how great that is and how meaningful it is for their learning journey. I guess just like one more question is like, then how, I know you've done a lot of like not just the investigation, but then using that to like move forward and do something with that information, right? And so how is it beneficial to have something rooted in authenticity in real life if you're going to take action?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. One of the examples, and I know that I'm at an environmental charter school, but it's something that I've always taught in my PDs is if you build a practice of going outside, like if you only go outside twice in your whole school career, you can't expect the kids to be able to do the work outside, right? And even here where they get to go outside most days in many classes, you have to build that expectation. So one of the things that we're doing is we're taking the same data every week in my environmental science class. This could be a biology class. This could be a chemistry class. And we're going outside and we're taking the same data every single week. Now, you could argue that's a community inventory, but once you have knowledge about it, just like in the scientific method, once you've got knowledge about it, and now we're going to have a data set about that, we're going to be learning how to manipulate data, how to build graphs, how to ask questions, and then we can tailor that to a new question. And project-based learning is really important here. So they will be filling this out, populating this graph, and then they'll be researching their own question from the data that they collected over the course of the year. Cool. And that's going to be the end, like the final project in our science class. And so I think that has meaning because they will have taken the data from which they are getting curious about it. They know they have their lived experience for, living 2-3 years at this school on this space. And so they bring all of that background knowledge, and now they're going to ask that question. And I'm not saying that there will be action civics that comes out of that, but there will want to be, right? Those next questions in science is always, okay, now that I know this, what do we do about it?
Right? Yeah. What do you do with that information? That's like one of my favorite questions. So that's so cool. Thank you for this little mini deep dive. Thank you for being such a important part of our work and for all of your efforts in the community practice. You are seen and appreciated, and thanks for being here with me today to dive into this. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Have a great day, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.